dead one, mister.
The Mean One is a 2022 Christmas slasher, directed by Steven LaMorte and written by Flip and Finn Kobler. It stars David Howard Thornton, Krystle Martin, and Chase Mullins. So the basic premise of this is it's kind of a reimagination of the Dr. Seuss story, The Grinch. But of course, they can't use the name The Grinch because that's a licensed product, so it's called The Mean One. But it takes this premise, almost similar to the Jim Carrey version of The Grinch, and turns it on its head and makes The Grinch this evil slasher. So if you've seen the trailer, you know this is not a high quality, what you would consider a good movie, right? But going in, I'm thinking what you're thinking. If you're interested in this, then your thoughts are that it's going to be a fun, kind of over the top, campy, good time. Like maybe so bad it's good, or at the very least just bonkers, wild, gory, silly, just a good time for the Christmas season, nothing to take serious at all. But I think they missed a mark even on that. And let me tell you why. It is low budget. The acting is really not very good at all. There's some scenes where the dialogue is just so wooden. Some of it's the performance themselves, some of it's the writing. It's just not great at all. But I did feel that the premise, the idea was it had merit. Like there was actually some potential here. But I felt like where this movie really lost what they were trying to go for is that they just never could figure out what kind of movie they wanted to be. Because at times it was very dramatic. Like it was taking itself way too serious. And it's like, oh, we're trying to be this serious kind of story about this girl and trying to come back from trauma and like all this crazy, like they're trying to be Halloween or something. And then the next scene would just be wild campiness, over the top stuff with David Howard Thornton, which let me explain that too. He is not in this movie nearly enough. When he is, he's fantastic. But there's two things. One, there's really two scenes in general where he is able to just do his thing and he's brilliant. I mean, it's David Howard Thornton, man. It's Art the Clown. He's brilliant. But the gore is horrible. It's all CGI blood, and it's not just CGI blood. We're talking, it looks like my friend said, Coca-Cola splashed up on the screen. I don't know who did the special effects for this. I don't know what they were thinking, because even if they're trying to go for campy, it just didn't even look campy or bad. It just looked like, it just off-putting, like really horrible. Like if they had leaned into the physical gore of this, like Terrifier, it would at least had that as a saving grace. I still don't think this would have been a great movie, but at least that would have been an enjoyable element of it. But they didn't do that. The gore was, at times it felt neutered. It felt like they were trying to go for a PG-13 rating where you just don't see the actual kills happening, or right as the sword or knife is about to go in, it kind of cuts away, like weird stuff like that. And I know it's super low budget, so I know that had to do with that. But if you're gonna make a movie, you gotta at least be able to do some stuff, right? Otherwise, it's just kind of what seems to me, and that's what I kind of think this is kind of a cash grab. They're just trying to capitalize on the whole Art the Clown Terrifier thing and this whole Blood and Honey thing coming out in January, I think, and just kind of trying to capitalize on that maybe a little. I don't know. I was very confused because this movie just doesn't know what it's going for. Because if it ever leaned into the campiness, it would have been a fun time. It would have still been a bad movie, but at least it would have been a fun bad movie, a silly bad movie, one where you're laughing and having a good time with friends. But it didn't do that. There was a couple scenes that were that way. I'm not gonna lie, there was a couple scenes, one in particular with these Santa Clauses that I thought was great. I was like, and even though the CGI blood was horrible, it still was fun because here's, this Grinch dude slaying people. But another thing I was disappointed in is I thought I was going to get to see more of David Howard Thornton, not only on screen, but I thought we would see some speaking roles. I thought at the very least the Grinch is going to have a couple like kind of sassy quips. I mean, that's kind of the whole point of the Grinch, right? He does talk. Like, so I'm very confused on that. I don't understand why they didn't do any dialogue from him whatsoever. Like this entire movie, he doesn't say anything. He doesn't even make like little mutters or something that's comedic at all. this movie doesn't feel comedic, which is another thing. That makes no sense. Like, why would you do a movie like this and not think you're going to try to be comedic? Like, it does try to land a few jokes, but they're just awful. They don't land at all. And like I said, it just feels like it's taking itself way too serious. The actors that are in it, they're not the greatest, but yet they go really hard, man. You could tell they're giving it their all, and I really respect and appreciate that, but I just don't think this is the movie for that. There was one in particular, the guy that plays the sheriff, who I was like, man, this guy does have a bright future because he really acts pretty damn well, but he was so all in, going just absolutely hard on this movie, and I was like, bro, this is not the movie for that. Like, so basically, it was like a tonal thing that just really made it a damper. Every time you were kind of starting to be like, okay, I'm having fun. I'm at least laughing at it, right? And making fun of it or whatever. Then there'd be this overly serious scene that just made no sense. Or like in another part, there's this uncomfortably long sex scene. And you don't really even see any nudity, but it's just this, you see enough skin and it just lasts a long time. You're like, what am I watching here? There was a lot of this movie that just felt, I don't know, man. Like they were, like I said, they didn't know exactly what they were trying to make. I don't know who was involved in this movie. I did see some elements about it that I did enjoy, but there were so many things that just were just missing the target that it just really never allowed me to really get into it and have fun with it on any level. Another thing is there's just this awful CGI snow where you can tell, and the whole movie is so dark, but not just dark. The contrast is horrible.
What is it?
The mean one.
Like all the blacks are so black. And I think a lot of it is, especially when they're outside, I think it's that they were shooting it in the middle of the day in like summertime. And they're like, how can we make this feel cold? And then they added some CGI snow, but it just doesn't work. Like, I was very disappointed because I felt like at the very least this would be a so bad it's good movie that you would have fun with. And yes, me and my friend, I went with a buddy of mine, and we did laugh at it. We did, have a good time, sorta, but not really with the movie. It was more just me and him hanging out and like making fun of it and criticizing it. Not criticizing it, but as much as he's a filmmaker, and we were just kind of talking about things and like questioning decisions, like what were they trying to do? Because he's a low budget filmmaker, and I know a number of low budget filmmakers. So I understand the trouble of trying to do something like this that's such a tiny micro budget. But if you're gonna do a movie at all, you need to make sure that you can at least do a couple things. You got to at least have something that shines about your movie that makes you want to see it. And they had Art the Clown himself. They had David Howard Thornton. Why don't you utilize him more? Like if they had focused more on him and had him on screen more doing his stuff that he does, then it would have been more like Terrifier, and it would have been enjoyable because the guy is a great physical actor. Like once again in this, he has really just 2 scenes, but those scenes, he's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant in them with what he has to work with, but just not enough on it. So anyway, that's my thoughts on the movie. I definitely wouldn't spend any money to see this when it jumps to Tubi, which I'm sure won't be that long until it does. Definitely, still give it a look. It's just my opinion, but I would not spend any money on this at all, and I would go into it with very, very low expectations and maybe a couple beers. But that's going to do it for me today. Thank you so much for watching this. I want to give a massive, huge, enormous thank you to the Ghost Pirate Army, because you guys, your support means so much to me. And if you would like to find out more about becoming a part of the Ghost Pirate Army, the link is down in the description. And like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. And remember, guys, horror can be fun. Click right here to see my Bloody Christmas review. And I'll see you guys next time.